It doesn't look expensive at first. It looks normal. An apartment, a car, a few subscriptions, a routine. Nothing excessive, nothing that feels out of reach. That's what makes it easy to accept, because it doesn't feel like a decision. It feels like default. You move out. You get a place. You get a car to move around. You add small comforts, streaming, food delivery, convenience, things that make life smoother. And none of it feels heavy on its own. Each piece is manageable. Each cost makes sense. Each decision feels justified. But the system isn't built on individual costs. It's built on accumulation, stacking, layer after layer. Rent locks in a monthly obligation. The car adds another. Insurance, fuel, maintenance. Then subscriptions, small amounts, but constant. And once they're all combined, you're no longer choosing expenses, you're maintaining them. That's the shift most people don't notice. You don't feel like you're spending. You feel like you're sustaining, holding everything in place. And that requires consistency. Not just effort, income. Steady, reliable, continuous. Because the moment income pauses, everything else doesn't. Rent doesn't stop. Payments don't wait. Subscriptions don't pause themselves. The system keeps running. And now you're not just earning to grow, you're earning to maintain. Maintain the apartment, maintain the car, maintain the lifestyle. Maintain the version of normal you stepped into. And that's where the cost really begins. Not in the price, but in the commitment. Because every fixed cost locks a portion of your future income in place before you earn it. Before you decide what to do with it, it's already assigned. So over time, your income stops feeling flexible, stops feeling like something you control, and starts feeling allocated, pre-decided, pre-spent. And that's why it feels stable, because everything is predictable. You know what's due. You know what's required. You know what it takes to keep things running. But that stability has a cost. It removes flexibility. It reduces options. It limits how much you can move. So it looks like security, but it behaves like structure. A structure you have to continuously support every month. And the longer you stay inside it, the more your income exists to maintain it, instead of building something beyond it. It doesn't stop at the big expenses. That's just the foundation. What really builds the weight are the small things. The things that don't feel serious. The things that feel optional. Streaming, music, apps, food delivery, convenience. Each one feels harmless, cheap enough to ignore, easy enough to justify, normal enough to accept. Because none of them demand a decision. They just ask for permission, once, and then they stay. That's how the system expands, not through pressure, through ease, through comfort. You don't feel like you're adding weight. You feel like you're improving your life, making things smoother, faster, more enjoyable. And each upgrade feels small, insignificant, until they're not. Because they don't stay isolated. They stack, one after another, layer after layer. A subscription here, another there. A service you barely use, a charge you forgot about. But it never forgets you. That's the difference. You forget the expense. The expense doesn't forget you. It keeps running every month, no matter what changes, no matter how often you use it. It doesn't care about value, only continuity. And over time, those small charges become fixed. They stop feeling optional. They become part of your baseline. You don't review them. You don't question them. You absorb them. And now your income has more places to go, more commitments, more obligations, more systems to maintain, all built on things that once felt small. That's how convenience turns into structure, quietly, without resistance, without awareness. Because nothing about it feels forced. It feels chosen. But once it's all combined, you're not choosing anymore. You're maintaining. Maintaining access. Maintaining comfort. Maintaining ease. Maintaining a system that keeps charging, whether you think about it or not. And that's where it shifts, from convenience to commitment. Because every small subscription adds another fixed piece to a life that now depends on continuous income. If this made sense to you, you already understand more than most people do. This channel exists for that kind of awareness. Like the video, subscribe. Nothing here is accidental. At this point, everything feels stable. Nothing feels out of control. Nothing feels uncertain. You know your expenses, you know your routine, you know what it takes to keep things running. And that creates a sense of comfort, a sense of control, a sense that things are handled. But comfort isn't the same as freedom, and control isn't the same as flexibility, because everything works as long as nothing changes. That's the condition, the part that stays hidden. Everything holds together as long as income stays consistent, as long as nothing interrupts the flow. But the moment something shifts, everything tightens, because there's no space, no margin, no flexibility to absorb change. That's the trade. Comfort in exchange for mobility, stability in exchange for options, predictability in exchange for freedom. And it doesn't feel like a loss, because nothing is taken all at once. It happens gradually, quietly. You stop taking risks, not because you're afraid, but because you can't afford disruption. You stop exploring alternatives, not because you lack interest, but because your structure requires consistency. Your decisions start filtering through one question: will this affect my stability? And if the answer is yes, you don't take it. Not because it's wrong, but because it's incompatible. That's how options disappear, not through force, through structure. The more fixed your life becomes, the less flexible your decisions are. The less you can move, the less you can shift direction, because every change now has a cost, not just financially, structurally. You're not just adjusting your life, you're disrupting a system built on consistency, on repetition, on predictability. And the longer you stay inside it, the more it defines your range, what you can do, what you can risk, what you can walk away from. So it feels like comfort, it feels like security, but what it actually creates is dependency. A system that works as long as you keep feeding it, as long as you keep earning, as long as you keep maintaining. And the moment you stop, you realize something important. You were never free inside it. You were just stable within it. At the end of it, it doesn't look like a trap. It looks like a life. A place to live. A way to move. Comfort. Convenience. Everything in place. And that's what makes it hard to question. Because nothing feels wrong. Nothing feels excessive. Nothing feels like a mistake. But that's the design. Not to overwhelm you, but to normalize it. So you don't see the cost as a trade. You see it as living, as responsibility, as maturity. But every fixed cost is a claim on your future income. Not once, repeatedly. Every month you maintain it, you're reinforcing the structure, strengthening it, locking it in further. And over time, your income stops being yours. It becomes assigned, allocated before you even receive it. So when you think you're buying comfort, you're actually buying obligation. When you think you're creating stability, you're committing future effort, future time, future energy, future focus, all dedicated to maintaining what already exists, not building something new. That's the difference between paid stability and real freedom. Paid stability requires continuous input. It only works if you keep earning, if you keep showing up, if nothing interrupts the flow. Real freedom doesn't depend on constant maintenance. It creates space, options, the ability to move without everything collapsing behind you. And most people never question that difference because what they have feels stable enough. Until they want to change something, until they want to move, until they want to stop. That's when it becomes clear. You weren't just living, you were maintaining. Maintaining a structure, maintaining a system, maintaining a version of life that depends on you staying inside it. And the longer you stay, the more expensive it becomes to leave. Not just financially, but structurally. So the question isn't whether it works, it does. The question is what it costs you to keep it working. Subscribe for more.